y'all doing tonight? Getting a little cultured and canned and fermented in this evening. I'm going to try to get a little bit done tonight. Catch up on some fall preps, right? Let's say that I like to do a lot of this type of stuff in the winter and the fall so that it carries me through and get my good belly probiotics on. So I'm live from my kitchen. I'm Lana Levante. I'm in the Florida Sunshine State, Clearwater to be exact. And I like to get cultured, right? It's all about the fermentation. It's all about the preservation. It's all about getting the most out of your living food, right? Those live enzymes, whole foods, plant-based, right? Can anybody relate? What do y'all can? What do you all pickle? What do y'all ferment? Like kimchi, pickles, radishes, daikon, a little jicama here, a little cabbage there. Maybe you make your own cabbage verjuvelak or even sauerkraut, right? I love this stuff. To me, my kitchen is my alchemy, like my laboratory. Like alchemy in my kitchen is what I really mean. And so whenever I can get down with some amazing food creations, I am all over it. So, without further ado, I'm going to share what I'm already starting on preparing, because sometimes I need a little head start, because I can go in and talk, as y'all know, for those of you who've seen me. I have chopped up some beautiful radishes. Look at the color. And here's the beauty, right? When you preserve your food, you know, it stays vibrant, it stays colorful. It's like you've got that rainbow sensation, that palate gets even more tickled. And so I took a Meyer lemon, a very tiny little Meyer lemon off of my tree. This year it's doing really wild. It's going crazy. Last year it didn't produce, this year it's producing. I'm super stoked, right? Here's another one. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And they're sweeter. They're sweeter than normal lemons. So I also chopped up some ginger. You know, and a little bit of spice is always nice. Warms the belly too. It's good for the digestion. It's good for immune system, as well as any of this is going to end up being. It's going to be that much more potent, that much more powerful. I'm also going to stand over here and chop while I speak and cut up some parsnip. So I just got this inspiration of what I'm putting together. I do this quite often. I haven't written any recipe down, so just follow along. I think I cut up about 6 good-sized radishes. This is just your standard mason jar, you know. It may or may not last in my fridge because sometimes I'm all over it, right? Serious getting yummies here going on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop up and see how much of the the parsnip. I was thinking I wish I had some daikon. Even if you're just kind of like, you know how you get these, it needs to be used because it's a little limp, right? Even if it's a little limp doesn't mean you can't work with it. That's all I'm saying. You cut it up, it'll still come back to life. As far as I'm concerned, that's the beauty in all of this. Let me get some water on because I am a little dehydrated today. I don't know if y'all have been going through this, but like I've been needing a lot more water lately. I need the reminder. Stop and drink your water. So hydrate. So, without further ado. So what are y'all doing tonight? No, they're not turnips though. These here are parsnips, which have a little bit of a sweeter taste to them. I love root veggies, right? And this time of year, I am all over the culturing. Like, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with that cabbage next, but that's on the next thing that I'm about to do too. And see, here's the thing. I don't have any garlic, and a lot of times I always have garlic on my countertop. I ran out of garlic the other day, and I just didn't get a chance to get any. I'm kind of behind on my food, let's say my grocery hauls. Normally I'll go to the farmer's market, but I've been rather swamped. And for the next 2 weekends after this weekend coming up, I'm not going to be able to do very much. So The beauty of a lot of vegetables is that they have a natural enzyme in them that they break down, and cabbage is one of them. Cabbage is amazing because it has that enzyme within it. These cruciferous veggies, and actually with the cabbage it's what's the other word? Well, cruciferous, I'm thinking of the kale and all those, but also the cabbage. You can break them down, and you can lacto-ferment almost anything, right? So I am all about doing that. I have made lacto-fermented pesto, which I will be doing soon. I have made lacto-fermented chutney using kombucha, because I brew my own kombucha too. I do all sorts of goodies, and you know why? Because I want to see what happens when I do, right? I could, of course, yes, Susan, of course you can add turnips. Turnips, again, like, you know what? Sometimes you got to kind of play with whatever comes to mind and get creative. And for me, I just do whatever comes to mind. Like what I'm doing right now just sounds like a good combination. The ginger, my sister has done this before, and I've done it too. It's just been, I've been behind. I'm usually right on top of all this. I usually do this more often. But over the past couple of years, I've had so much going on. I sold my house up north. I bought this house down here, had to relocate from my dad's place, and just still being between homes, because even though I've been in this house for almost 3 years, almost 3 years, it literally does not feel like it. It feels like it should have been less time, but even still. The kombucha will be another video, Susan, but you can tune in. I will probably do that a little bit later, maybe tonight. And so, I've done a lot of different types of fermentations over the years, and I have so much fun with it. I love making kimchi. I was stationed in Korea when I was in the Air Force. I've always loved spicy. Like, my parents had a restaurant, and my parents were the ones, in the restaurant, we always had the pepper jar, you know, like the pepper crushed seeds and everything. My parents would be like, all over the pizza. And so I just picked up on spicy. I love spicy. Spice of life, you know? Get a little spicy on. So, again, tonight I'm just catching up on some fermentations, some culturing, canning, preservations, keeping it all raw and real, plant-based, whole foods, living enzymes, good belly, right? Right? Oh, I'm telling you, kimchi is the bomb. And being stationed over there, I got spoiled. I really did. Although, you know, for those of you who are vegan, you know, you might not like that the original kimchi has, so I think it's anchovy sauce or something in it, or some form of a fish base oil. And so that's just something to be aware of for anybody. I like to tell people up front just so that they're aware and they're not freaked out later. I don't use it myself when I make it, but there are a lot of variations you can find in the markets when you buy it. And see, here's the thing. I prefer to make everything in my house because I know what the ingredients are, and I'm allergic to a lot of stuff. So I know when I'm making it myself, I am pouring my love, my heart and soul into it. So I know what's going into it, not just ingredients, but also the energy that I'm imparting. So here's another little tip if you're a person who's all about fermentations and making sure that you're getting the best out of what you're brewing and culturing, right? What you're nurturing, what you're going to create. The best thing you can do is pay attention to moon cycles, right? The moon cycles are not only affecting us, especially women, but the moon cycle is going to affect everything and everybody, because when you're coming close to a full moon or a new moon within those 5 days, that's when the bacteria in your belly start going, feed me. You feel voracious and want to eat everything in sight. So when the moon cycles, when you get closer to a full moon or a new moon, it's like the belly, you know, your own gut flora, everything's like, very active. You notice your animals are affected. You notice people's moods. Women, we know we are very intuitive. We're connected to the moon, right? So when you really tap into this, you start to also notice, why do the farmers plant the seeds at the new moon? And then they harvest around the full moons. These are things that really affect everything in our lives. Not just us, not just the nature. It's all a cycle, this dance, this symbiotic, energetic dance, that we are universal, we are all connected, we are all one. And so when you notice, right, it's a map. It's an indicator of what's going on. And so when you go, well, the animals are acting funny. Listen, they're telling you something that if you're not paying attention in here that you don't know, that you can tune into. And so my dad always says, the cat won't leave me alone. She's up all night. I'm like, did you pay attention to the fact that it's coming up on a new or full moon? So just little words of, insight that I've gleaned in my own life. And so I have a way that I brew my kombucha that when I do, because I do that the most, that's where I focus a lot more of my attention. So when I brew kombucha, I pay attention to the moon cycles because I want to make sure that my kombucha is done within those 5-day windows. Now sometimes it might be a little off, but it's most potent, it seems, when I do it accordingly. But then again, there's also that intuitive nature, and if you're actually paying attention, you're going to get that in there anyway, right? So isn't that beautiful? These colors are going to be so gorgeous. And so that's the other thing that's beautiful is when you ferment, you can maintain just that freshness and that color. And to me, it's like, I love rainbow color. I like all the colors. There's the full spectrum, right? And when I first learned of a lot of my food allergies, I really got heavy into fermentation because I've always loved, again, like kimchi, but also sauerkraut. I think my dad used to buy it in big jars, or radishes, or, the pickling and things like that. Because of my stomach needing to repopulate good flora, because I learned I was allergic to gluten and wheat especially, it was imperative that I repair my belly. And so, yeah, I started doing a lot more research, and I realized how easy it really is. For those of you who are anything like me, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes you don't need salt. The true fermenting doesn't even need salt, because cabbage will naturally break down, no salt necessary. It has its own enzymes. So when I make cabbage rejuvenac, I just use water and this. The first time I make it, I stick it in the blender. I use a lot of water. For a whole I end up having to add extra water. I put it in a big glass bowl. I cover it over with basically a cutting board and a plastic cutting board underneath. It will stink up your house. But the funny part is, it only takes 72 hours for the first time from scratch. Then if you use some of the liquid from the starter, as a starter from the original batch, it'll only take 24 hours, right? So that's the coolest part, is so if you ever make cabbage rejuvenac, or even kimchi, or not kimchi, but sauerkraut or kimchi, you really don't need salt. You're going to get it naturally. And let me tell you, when this is done and you taste even despite the smell of your house, the smell is one thing. The taste is sweet. It is deceiving, right? So you get the sour and the sweet in the same, right? Cool stuff to know, right? Who'd have thunk? So if anybody's just tuning in right now I'm cutting up the sweet and sour, right? I'm cutting up the parsnip, just nice and fine. I got lazy. I normally, I can cut through this a lot quicker if I pulled out my actual cutting knife. I like my ceramic knives, and I broke my big one, so I'm just cutting it slow and taking my time, so that if anybody has any questions and I catch them, I can actually answer your questions, right? Hey, and sharing's caring. If you think somebody else might benefit from this information, it could actually help them repopulate their gut flora, power to you. Share it wherever you think you think it'll find value. Invite your friends too. Aw, thank you. So yeah, I mean, especially over the years with all the different health ailments I've struggled with, and I've been healing my mind, body, and soul, coming back to balance. The big one has been bringing back my own natural home process. You know, there's no process technically here. Everything's doing in nature's time, right? Love, love. This is so pretty. I just think it's so pretty, the way the colors and the shapes. And then when you look at, have you ever looked at like just, I'll show you what I mean. Like these are tiny, but it's so pretty. Like, you know, everything has something to appreciate in it. Like when you look at that center, can you see it's got a pretty little design in the center. Surrender. I don't know, that song is coming up to me right now. So if you surrender to what is, you don't have to worry about what will be, because it's all perfect in the moment, divinely. So what you resist will persist, but if you aspire, you will inspire, right? The breath of life will be breathed into you fully when you embrace and allow it to be breathed into you. This is fun. This is very therapeutic though too, because I don't know about anybody else. So meditation is single-minded focus. I teach Kundalini Yoga, so one of the things I find beautiful about being in my kitchen is it is actually very meditative for me. And so I do tend to have like chants of mantra in my mind already. Like, you know, if you want to infuse a higher vibration to your food, find something that has a high vibration, whether you listen to classical music or you listen to some binaural beats or solfeggio. The reality is that the higher the vibration of your atmosphere, your thoughts, and even what you're, speaking, the more you're infusing your food with that same high vibe. And so teaching Kundalini Yoga and learning all these years, and I'm dropping food on the floor, I have found it very beneficial to just have a Bij mantra, even if I'm just chanting Ekonkar Sat Guru Prasad Sat Guru Prasad Ekonkar. Now that'll actually cut through negativity. So if you're having negative thoughts, you chant that in your mind or out loud 5 times, and then start to pay attention. And the more you notice whenever a thought that you would like to shift arises, you chant the mantra, right? So it's Ekonkar Sadguru Prasad Ekonkar. I know you're all out there going, are you kidding me? What did she just say? Sometimes you don't have to know what I just said, but if you can find it and just listen to it. Sometimes what I do is I have music, I listen to YouTube, and I'll just pull something up just to have in the background. A lot of times I'll listen to Japji. Now that's actually a poem recital that we chant every morning at sadhana in Kundalini Yoga, and it was written by Guru Nanak, who was one of the founders of the Kundalini Yoga that Yogi Bhajan brought here to the U.S. and around the world, actually. And he was criticized, and he was... a lot of people get upset that he revealed teachings that used to have to spend lifetimes to prove your worthiness to receive. Now, isn't that the irony? There's so much out there in the world, and that you can't have this information because you don't come from the right class, you don't come from the right family, right? But the funny part is that we're all equal. None of us is separate and nobody is different. And so to separate is also to deny a part of yourself. Unity, oneness. We all want to belong. We all want to be connected to one another. But yet we can't be pushing people away just based on a label or, something they had no control over, especially families and class systems. and that's the whole point of Ridiculously Authentic. It's all about all-inclusive, baby. You be you, and we love you just as you are. Kombucha is one of my favorite things to make. I have made, oh yeah, and I forgot, I make my own coconut yogurt. And then you've got kefir or kefir. And June tea I haven't played with. It requires a lot of honey, and honey can be a tough one to come by. It's not exactly, even when you do get the good honey, it's costly. So, not that it's about the cost so much as I just find it's a lot of work just working with my kombucha, and I want to give it most of my attention. And so, I'm going to actually fill this to the top is how it looks. Now, one of the things I can recommend, so like I was saying, you can use a saltwater brine in this if you desire, but I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to get creative because I like to change things up. I don't follow recipes or rules very well. Did I mention that? I tend to do my own thing because I am me and I show up authentically. I know there ain't no other me. Anybody else out there who will admittedly, openly lick their spoons, knives, plates, and everything else without any excuses or apologies? Just saying. Hallelujah. Come to the end of this parsnip. Parsnippity snip snip. I should have started on this end. It would have been easier. But I think I was testing myself. Can you cut through that big piece? Nice smooth pieces. Okay. Alright. I think I just wanted the big pieces on top, which I could have waited. So, because I have a couple things in the refrigerator, I have, let me see, what have I got in there? I have some cabbage Rejuvilac already in the refrigerator that I can pour in here, which is awesome. I also have an old pickling of some ginger that I had made last year. And yes, it can still last, and don't be afraid if it looks funny to you. But here's what my jar looks like so far, right? Look at those colors. It's just beautiful to look at it, right? I probably have to post a picture later just to share. But so far it's 4 ingredients. Half of a small Meyer lemon, just because I want a little sweetness and tartness to it. And I'm thinking, let me see if I can find that cabbage Rejuvilac jar. I have moved so much around in my fridge that sometimes I don't even know what's what. And I make my own yogurt that's in here. Oops. Yep, and then she goes knocking stuff over. I'm good at that. I'm going to play with that later. Ooh, what's that? And then I found figs in the back of my fridge. That's possible. You just never know what you'll find when you start going. Does anybody else have this problem? They just go, oh, hey, I forgot that was back there. That'd be me. I'm good at that. That's all gonna stay there. I'm just pulling out the cabbage Rejuvilac because that's gonna be my starter. And see, here's the thing. If you ever do, now that I got the figs out, I almost want to eat them, right? Dried figs. So when I make my cabbage Rejuvilac, if you've never done it before, you're supposed to strain out the pulp and then just keep the juice. And yeah, buddy. So there's a couple ways I can do this. I can use the liquid because there's still liquid in here. But the pulp is really what's in here because I keep the pulp and use it as starter for a lot of my other recipes that require some sort of a fermentation or culturing. So it's going to turn this pink on top of everything, which is kind of cool actually. See that? See how pretty and raspberry colored that is? I mean, really. Vibrancy, people. Vibrancy. And this is lacto fermenting because I'm using a starter. And then I'm going to add just water, because that's really all you need is water. It's going to be pretty colors. You really don't need much, that's all I'm going to say. Really don't need much at all. And then you'll sit it on the countertop for like, usually overnight. You can put it in the fridge. It'll continue to ferment overnight. Or in the fridge. Even if you, what happens when you put anything fermenting in the fridge is all it does is it slows the fermentation process. Yum. So you see how it's going to change everything kind of pinkish. And then you can add water. If you do decide you want to salt it up, because some people feel like they need to have salt in it, you can actually use dulse too. You can do salt, you can do dulse, you do whatever feels good for you. It's kind of cool to hear the bubbles. How, you know, like it's going to fill all the spaces. I'm going to have to put more water, but I think I am. I'm going to put just a little bit of salt in there. I'm going to say a teaspoon of salt, because you don't need it, but we're going to put some salt in it. And then it's going to be interesting to watch, because again, because it has the lemon and the ginger, I want it to impart more sweetness than saltiness. So 1 teaspoon of salt. And it's of course Himalayan salt, so it's just going to keep adding to that pretty pink. Look at those colors. And the one thing about fermenting is when it softens down a little bit and it starts to absorb all those flavors, it will actually push, it'll go, you know, like they say there's a couple ways you can do it. You can put something on top to keep it down. Now, I'm going to tell you my experience has been, and this is where it's kind of comical, because I always have a little bit of a mess on my kitchen top when it comes to fermentations. When I do my coconut yogurt, you would all be laughing. I always have to put a plate underneath, because despite the closed top, it will actually come out of it. It grows, and I always leave a little bit of a space, because I know that it's going to, like a mushroom, you know? It's fungi, you know, the fungi, the bacteria. They just keep on wanting to populate and grow out for where the oxygen is. So they come out of the edge of the, but it's mostly because I don't seal it. These don't have like a little seal piece in it. It doesn't have the tight lock. It's not going to kill you. In some cases, when you're making like, I've done sauerkrauts and kimchis and all that, when you do that, you can get those jars with the airtight seal thing, which I still don't own. Or you can just clear off the top of it and keep pushing things down under the water or the brine, because this is a brine. And actually, I'm going to show you. Nice and salty. See, for me, I don't want it too salty, but it's going to eat the salt. The whole purpose of the salt is for the bacteria to eat it. And so that I shake it up so that it gets in any of those air pockets in case I need to add more water, which it already looks like I need to. It's so cool. What, you see the bubbles? It's already like, woo, what are we doing? Look at all those pretty bubbles. Bubbles. Pretty bubbles, blowing bubbles. So you see how much that created more space, and I need more water. And I'll have to push it down again just to keep show that it is under the vata, under the vasa. And okay, so I'm using a metal spoon. I know this is not optimal. I just want to recommend to anybody out there, technically, you're not supposed to use metal when you're doing. That's another reason why I use mostly ceramic and glass and all that stuff. So you just use your fingers, because you're actually infusing it with your own energy anyway. So this will be fun to watch overnight. If you want to add sugar, you can add a little sugar too, actually, now that I think about it. Sweet. So I think you got to be careful. See, there's an interesting thing about using honey. So when I was learning about how I could have made June tea or I could have used honey in my kombucha ferments, my understanding is you don't want fresh honey because it has these enzymes and it is naturally antiseptic, antibiotic, antimicrobial, antifungal. So you really don't necessarily want to use a honey if you're trying to cultivate really strong bacteria, right? Whereas now my understanding is that if you get pasteurized honey, it kills all that. So then I start to go, well, then it's a processed sugar, and why would I want to do that? So it's all in your choice. If you want to use honey, just be aware there are certain things that may not work out properly that is ideal for what you want to do. I'm going to add, let me see what I got for sugars. Gotta be sweeten it up a little. I was thinking, maybe a little coconut sugar. Maybe I'll just do that, a little coconut sugar. Or date sugar, that's what we'll do. A little date sugar. This would be even more flavorful. So sweet and sour, sweet and sour. Sweet and salty. So these are going to be some fun cultures to check out when they're done, right? So, now that, speaking of sweet, see, this is what happens when I'm in my kitchen late at night and I'm just doing something. All of a sudden I go, I got these dried dried figs, which, by the way, these are not always my favorite. I prefer them fresh. But I saw them and now I want to eat them. Late night snack. I'm going to be up for a little while. It's okay. Any questions, anyone? Shake it up, baby. Shake it up, baby. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on, baby. Come on, baby. Work it all out. Work it all out. You twist so good, twist so fine. Okay. So the reason you don't want to use metal, there's a deactivation, like with, how do I explain it? I don't even remember. It doesn't interact nicely. They don't play nice together. And it oxidizes, right? So I get salt and sugar. Salt and some sugar, baby. Aren't you sweet? You know you want a taste of this. It is cool to watch though, because whenever anything, it gets cultured, it just changes, and it's going to grow, but it's also going to mix around down there. So, yeah, let me try this now. It'll be fun to watch the difference in flavors, because I did put, actually I need to add more ginger, because more ginger is going to be, it's going to give it a little bit more of that sweet kick. And ginger ferments too, by the way. Whenever I use ginger in my kombucha, it really creates a ferment. My ginger really my ginger kombuchas end up being the most fizzy. I have to be careful how long I second ferment and let them sit on the countertop to create that fizz. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. You should see the flower on ginger too. It's gorgeous. The plant that keeps on giving. Voila, c'est ça. Yummy, yummy, yummy. And then with that lemon in there, maybe I need more lemon. I'll just put the lemon on top. I'm just so proud of my Meyer lemon tree that I just want to make sure I get good use out of each and every one of those gorgeous lemons out there. Oops, there's a seed. And you know what? The good thing about, like, when you're doing this, even if you get a seed in there and you can't get it out, which I did, I think. I think I got 2 seeds in there now that I see it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, baby. Okay, well, I got something out. I don't know if it's a whole seed. Won't hurt anything. It won't hurt a thing. Ow. So meanwhile, I'm over here eating a fig. A really sticky, sweet fig. Sticky, dry one, I should say. Nothing like the real thing. Like the true fresh. Because you know fresh is best, right? Figs, persimmons, I love. And you know I have yet to have the best persimmons this year. It's still early in the season. In fact, when I go to Lake Wales, when I go for my winter solstice, last year I found persimmons at Walmart. Because there's only a Walmart there, so when we all need something, we always end up at Publix or Walmart. It's pretty sad. And for those of you familiar with Kundalini Yoga, imagine all these people dressed in white with turbans on, walking through Walmart. You think that your average Walmart crew that everybody jokes about is funny to behold? I mean, we all have our funny walks of life. We all have our characters. And you can't help but just smile and admire that everybody feels comfortable in their own skin enough to just go into Walmart, right? Thank God for individuality. It's the personality. Embrace it. Embrace it all. And admire it just because it showed up. It shows up, you know, when you sit there and you do that whole, you know, we all do it. When you compare, you judge and all that. The beauty is in the blessing that each person has that opportunity and the free expression to be whoever and whatever they choose to, right? And so you got to give everyone, big high fives, great, you know, good for you. Good for you that you're not worried about anybody else. That's the way it should be. That's why life is so precious. This is so pretty. Look at this. My Meyer lemons on the top. Can you see how that? It almost looks like a lemonade, doesn't it? Pretty colors. Pretty designs. That's art. Don't y'all think that food is art? Am I the only one who just admires my stuff so much that I'm like, that's art? That's smart art. Because I know what that's going to turn into. Yes, exactly, Damon. I started out with that earlier, talking about ginger. Because I initially started out with the ginger, the radishes, the lemon, and then I cut up the parsnip. And that's pretty much all that's in there with the salt, some date sugar, a teaspoon of both, and some water. And I forgot the cabbage rejuvenac that I did put in there too. It is beautiful, isn't it? It's Sandy. Sandy knows. She's like, yeah, these are the pretty colors. So the cabbage rejuvenac actually is going to turn it a little pink, but so will the radishes from the skin. So as it ferments, it's going to be fun to see the flavors. And see, that's one other thing that's awesome about culturing and fermenting. The longer it sits, you don't know what's going to come out of it, right? So I didn't buy ginger. I don't have garlic, but I have the ginger. I have cabbage. I'm going to pull out a bigger knife for. And I'm going to just keep on munching on my figs all of a sudden. I have no intentions of eating anymore tonight, but I don't know what. Oh yeah, that's right. I just said the full moon's coming this week, right? I think Saturday. I think it's whatever day the 30th is, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. So I think what I'm going to do with this, and even though it's got some bad spots, I'm just cutting around them. Because it just means it's ready to start off on its fermentation path. I just get rid of the top leaves. Even then, they're not that bad. I'm just cleaning this up because I'll be honest, this was sitting in my fridge too long, and normally I get to it a lot quicker than that. So again, there's always that awareness is key. It helps. In this case, I'm going to use a bowl because it'll be a lot easier to control. Yeah, I hope that's big enough. I might need a bigger bowl actually. Let me see what else I got for glass. I have a whole storage room full of stuff. I'm just looking to see, because I know there's a bigger bowl, and it might even be down here, or not. It's not down there. Ooh, hello, sorry about that. It's all good. I'll just stick with this, and if I need a bigger bowl, I'll just transfer it. So, again, like I said, this has been sitting in the refrigerator a little too long. When that happens, it's all good. Don't be scared. It will naturally ferment. Y'all are like, I'm glad I'm not in her kitchen. She's talking with her knife pointed at me. Never point a gun or a knife on someone you're not ready to use. And I'm not that kind of violent person anyway. Ugh. So all of this is going in my compost pile, and it will help speed up the compost, that's for sure. And my hair is going right in front of my head, isn't it? I got funky hair tonight. I hope y'all are doing great. I'm embracing this craziness of the night. That's why I decided to share. Because sharing is caring, right? That's where we keep it raw, stay rad, right? And so, my sister eats like that. And I know it back in the days when we were younger, my sister did it on purpose. Because she would literally be chomping her mouth, like, she'd look at me, she'd get up in my face like this. No, seriously. The old me would be like, Mom! Quit it. Stop it. Quit it. Quit touching me! That was me and my sisters growing up. And we'd be laughing the whole time. Me and my sisters had to find ways to kind of get through some time. So laughter in my family is the medicine. Quit touching me! She's touching me, Mom! I'm not touching you. Look, see, I haven't touched you. I'm not touching you. After a while, does that get annoying? Kind of like, I got my eyeball on you. So, yes, going back to the mantras, the Guru's mantras. Ekongar Sadguru Prasad, Sadguru Prasad, Ekongar. Ekongar Saguru Prasad, Saguru Prasad, Ekongar. Ekongar Saguru Prasad, Saguru Prasad, Ekongar. And that was the key, right, Gemma? Like, ah, I got your finger. And then it would turn into something else. Oh yeah, go ahead, pull my finger. Yes, three sisters. Three sisters. And we're still just as silly. Thank God. I was hoping to talk to my little sister today, but I didn't. And today is also my mommy's birthday. She turns 63. Oh my gosh, time flies. So I'm going to shred this up while I talk, because y'all know I can talk and chop. So my mommy, God love her, is back in Omaha, Nebraska, and hopefully is doing well. I used to speak to her on a daily basis, and now it's a little bit more like she goes into her space. But don't we all? Because we're always contracting or expanding at all times, right? Voila, this is so beautiful, the colors. They are vibrant, they are violet. I love the purple, it's so beautiful, right? It's very colorful, very, very vibrant. It is rich of the colors of life, you know, like the rainbow. It must be. Hey, you know, you have to have fun in every way. Food is a great way to really harness. Because y'all see, there are all sorts of things that nature likes to see if you're paying attention when it plays little tricks and puts nature in different forms, right? Life is good. Be good to life and life will be good to you. Oh, hello. It's like Yogi Bhajan said, you know, all dates, they have pits. You know, the only downside is they have the pits. Hey, he had a pretty darn good sense of humor too. And I really appreciated that. Because too often, too many people get caught up in all these spiritual practices. Forget to be humbled by the human nature of humility and, you know, turning back time. We're not needing to be as serious as we've been conditioned. Let's go back to our inner child. Let the little one out to play. Dance, be free. Divine dance flowing like the river. Creating cultured foods. And so starts the Christmas holidays, and everybody who is out there. How many of y'all ventured out? Who got brave to go out during the, what was it called, Black Friday sales, cyber deals, or whatever else was going on? I did not leave the house. I felt safer in my cocoon, my bubble, right? Gotta be careful of your fingers too. You have to incorporate the fulcrum grip. Protect with the knuckles. Not that you want to cut the knuckles either. Have control over your knife fully with that thumb prick action. I mean the thumb pinch action. Oh yeah. Hey, the other thing is the later it gets, the little sillier I get. And that's just the nature of the beast. It's like, you know, when a kid gets to stay up late, they're laughing even more, don't you think? Right? Aw, happy birthday, Rosina. I hope I said your name right. So, anywhere I see that I've got some of the stalk in here, I'm just slicing it up more. And I'm just going to... This is going to be one ripe kitchen, and I'm already going to say that now in defense of the fact that, you know, it's just nature. But you know, if you have issues with gas and things like that, it's usually because of poor food combining and, well, your body can also be adjusting if you have candida, for example, right? Okay, there we go. So now we have the start of what is hopefully going to turn out to one of my best kimchis ever. And so, isn't that gorgeous? I just have a couple more ingredients to really add to this. I don't need to add much. But first, let me have a bite. Figgy time, let's get figgy with it, figgy with it. I wanna get figgy with, let's get figgy with it. Let me hear you fig it up. Make up my own songs. I do that a lot. I'm listening to the bubbling action going on. It's hilarious. Alright, so normally so I don't have a lot of these ingredients, so what I'm going to do, I'm probably just going to start with that and some water. And tomorrow I'm going to go and buy garlic and all the other ingredients that I might need to put in there and add them after the fact. Why? Because it's still going to ferment and it's still going to do its thing. And you can use a prior brine from another kimchi and pour it in there. Or you can create your own and let it do its longer ferment. But when you have a culture starter like this, the juice at least, you don't need a lot. It is actually quicker. It speeds up the process. It makes it easier for the turnover, for the eating away, the bacteria to populate. Because then you've got the populated bacteria in there, and then you add it in the salt, and the salts from the natural vegetable will also get eaten as well, right? You know, I went to India years ago, Damon. Absolutely loved it. My only concern for anybody else who ever goes there, where did my dig? Oh, there it is that I'm allergic to gluten and wheat. And in the north of India, they use a lot of wheat and gluten. And unfortunately, it's not as well known in India. So when you say, I'm allergic to it, they're like, oh, no problem. But meanwhile, in the back small kitchen, it's flying all through the air. So you got to really be aware. And I'm going to tell you, I was so inflamed from the salt, the excess salt in all of the foods there, because I'm so clean. I normally eat more raw. And I'm very particular about my diet. Man, my legs were so big. I could not put my hands around them like I normally. I'm very thin. My ankles were more like cankles. I had no ankles. It was just straight foot and leg. It was not pretty sight. That's all I'm saying. Now, when I went to the south of India, I didn't have as much of a problem. Mostly rice-based, quinoa, millet. I really love the lightness of the south. But I really love the north. So all of India was beautiful to me. So what else do I have to put in here? I could cut up the onion, but I think I'm going to hold off. I could also... See, I love playing with this because you can play with the flavors. Make it your own. That's the key. Make everything your own. Don't feel like you have to follow a recipe to the T, because it's going to still be infused with you, with your energy. Actually, I'm going to hold off on all the other ingredients. I'm just going to add salt and water and some of the starter to this. And tomorrow I'm going to come back. I'm going to add the ginger and the garlic and probably some of the spring onion. I may cut up the onion tomorrow. Red peppers, I forgot about that. I have an orange pepper in the back, but I really just want to get, this is the big part. This is the big deal. So, while I'm thinking about it, I have some kimchi sauce. That's going in there. Because I need to get also, I got lots of cayenne and all that in my cabinet. Boy, that's going to taste funky when I go to lick it. Oh, yeah. That smells so good. Really, really good. I have cayenne and all that, but yeah, that's going to be messy. I just don't want to lick, it go down. Yeah, you get the picture. So, without further ado, I just want to say, add some water, some salt. It's really not as difficult as it looks or sounds. But I tell you what, it's just the beginning. Because when you see the fruits of your labor, you're going to want to do it more and more. Because you see that your baby grows and you want to nurture it and create something big and bold, right? So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Tune in later when I make kombucha. What? Keep it raw, stay rad. Love you.